Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Cherry Pickers Podcast, a podcast where we talk all things hockey. Episode number 3 of the podcast, a very special episode. I'm joined with my co-host in person, Brody.
How's it going, everybody? We're doing a little bit differently today, going in person, so should be exciting. Let's get her going.
Yeah, no more recording over the internet. This is nice. It's going to be a little bit of a change-up, so if the audio is a little different here and there, we apologize for that, but we're going to have a little fun today. We're going to do some chatting in real life. We got quite a few topics to talk about today, Brody. So the All-Star break just ended last weekend. Pretty eventful weekend. Lots of fun. I know the players probably had a lot of fun. All the fans had a lot of fun too. So let's talk about the All-Star game a little bit. So Brody, I know you're a big Oilers fan. Let's talk about that fastest skater competition. What an upset, hey?
Yeah, I mean, I gotta give Jordan Kyrou credit where credit is due. He's a hell of a skater. He went in 13.5 seconds, and yeah, that's pretty crazy. And I mean, obviously, I thought Connor McDavid was gonna win because he's the fastest player in the game with the puck. So pretty shocking to me, but good for Jordan Kyrou.
Yeah, so Jordan Kyrou wins the fastest skater competition with a speed of, or a time of 13.55 seconds. Connor McDavid actually finished 4th. Adrian Kempe got 2nd, which was pretty surprising for me as well. Another guy who placed 5th was Cale Makar. So a couple of the fastest guys in the league there, whether they're probably just dogging it. It's the All-Star break, so don't have to try too hard, but good to see some new players come on top of that fastest skater. Speaking of upsets in that All-Star game, Alex Pietrangelo, the hometown boy for Vegas, wins the breakaway challenge. I know there was a lot of controversy in the league, a lot of buzz that Trevor Zegras with wow, what a move he pulled off. If you have not seen that move yet, you need to look it up right now. Trevor Zegras All-Star breakaway challenge, absolutely incredible. But Zegras, yeah, a lot of people thought Zegras got robbed in that breakaway challenge. What do you think, bro? Do you think he was robbed?
Absolutely, I think Trevor Zegras got robbed. He goes in blindfolded, does a lot of dekes, puts on a show, and gets in the back of the net. And to me, the All-Star game is about bringing a lot of fun, a lot of excitement, young stars coming in to show off their skills. And to me, that's exactly what Trevor Zegras did, and I think he deserved to win.
Yeah, I think it could have been a little rigged, having the hometown, Alex Pietrangelo there. Winning that for the hometown crowd. Yeah, it was a cool move. Didn't even score, though, which is kind of interesting. But I think that might be the first time ever in All-Star history that a player won a challenge by not even completing it. But nevertheless, crazy move by Zegras. Absolutely outstanding. The things that Zegras is doing in this league right now, man, are just absolutely insane. He's bringing so many, fans and new fans and people into this sport with all the creativeness that he's bringing. So yeah, other than that, in the All-Star game, Victor Hedman, winning the hardest shot competition, a shot of 103.2 miles per hour. That is crazy to think about how hard of a shot. Imagine those guys going out there every single night willing to put their body in front of shots like that. So that was crazy. Vasilevsky and Campbell win the save streak. They had a save streak at 9, so that was cool to see as well. But all in all, I think pretty good All-Star event. It was pretty I wouldn't say it was lackluster, but it was pretty laid back. You could tell the players were all enjoying their time there, and no one obviously wants to get injured before, the playoffs coming up. So good All-Star event. It was a good weekend, but we're back into the regular season now. They started right away, so let's talk more about the regular season. Let's talk about some firings, Brody. So two Canadian teams actually, let go of their head coaches. Let's start with Montreal. So Montreal, they fired their head coach Ducharme, and quite a spicy pickup for their new head coach. Martin St. Louis, Tampa Bay Lightning legend, signed as the head coach for Montreal. What do you think about that, Brody?
Well, first off, I think Marty St. Louis has had a fantastic career in the NHL. He's a Stanley Cup champion. He's played over 1,000 career games. Sure, Hall of Famer, in my opinion. And Montreal has been struggling, 8-31-7 at the time of the firing of Dominique Ducharme. A lot of things not going right for them, so they need a little shakeup. And Marty St. Louis is a very proud hockey guy, and I'm sure he's going to bring a lot of excitement to the fans in Montreal and hopefully start to turn this ship around.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about Montreal in this season for them. It's obviously hasn't gone any way that they wanted it to. I think bringing in a former player like Marty St. Louis is going to be a little interesting for Montreal, but, he builds these connections with the players, and when they start to retool and build their roster back up to, compete again, I think that'll be good for the Canadiens. Another player I think that'll be good for, Brody, Cole Caufield. You can definitely see a lot of Marty St. Louis and Cole Caufield's style of play. Not just size, but if Marty St. Louis can, give that confidence to, Cole Caufield, give him some pointers and stuff like that, I think that would be very beneficial for Cole Caufield in his career. And, very interesting signing for the Canadiens, bringing in Marty St. Louis as new head coach. Let's flip it over to the West Coast now. So the Oilers, they finally did it, man. There was a lot of speculation, especially on that losing streak, and they finally did it. They fired Dave Tippett, Jay Woodcroft coming in to replace Dave Tippett there in Edmonton. Let's hear it from the Oilers fan. What do you think, Brody?
I think, you definitely need a little shake up there. Dave Tippett got off to a really strong start with the Oilers. They were 16-5 out of the gate. Since then, 7-13-3. The team just stopped responding to them. They weren't playing the way they should. But however, I also think that part of this has got to be on Ken Holland. I mean, he had $22 million of cap space this summer to bring in the depth for Connor and Leon to have success and build a team that could actually contend for a Stanley Cup. He didn't bring in the pieces that they needed, specifically in goaltending and help on the blue line. So for me, part of it's got to be on upper management as well. Ken Holland preached stability within the organization, and after 2.5 seasons gets rid of Dave Tippett, and they're on their 8th coach in the last 12 years, I believe. So things are not looking good in Edmonton right now, and you got to hope and you got to think that eventually things are going to have to look to upper management, not just the coaching.
So with that said, Brody, if the Oilers don't make the playoffs this year, what happens with Ken Holland?
I think if the Oilers don't make the playoffs this season, Ken Holland is gone as well. He was brought in to turn the ship around quick, as Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl are in the primes of their careers, and they're not going to want to stand with this too much longer, in my opinion. So I think if the Oilers don't make the playoffs after this season, Ken Holland will be gone.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on that one. Ken Holland brought in kind of as the savior for this organization, and definitely some questionable moves in the offseason. When you got that cap space and you got these, absolutely fantastic players on your team, you need to build around them, and he really didn't do that. Trading away Caleb Jones and a pick to bring in old Duncan Keith, that really doesn't benefit your D-core at all. Not going out and getting a goalie in free agency was also rough for them. Even extending Mike Smith, that looks to be pretty disastrous as well. So I agree with you on that one, Brody. I do think that if the Oilers don't make it this year, I think Ken Holland's gone as well. But what's it going to take with Edmonton? Like you said, they've 8 head coaches, something like that in the last decade. What's it going to take for the Oilers to win? They got these fantastic players. They're starting to build that depth, in the offense with Zach Hyman and bringing up players from the minors and stuff like that. They got Dylan Holloway coming up and all that stuff. And it's just, what is it going to take in Edmonton? Is it truly, their defensive and lack of goaltending, or is it just no coaches, fitting with them? It's a very interesting situation in Edmonton. Jay Woodcroft, he coached Bakersfield, right? Yeah, he coached Bakersfield, so he knows a lot of those guys that came up from Bakersfield and made it to the show. So hopefully that reignites their passion a little bit. Last couple games haven't been pretty for the Oilers. They lost back-to-back games at home, outscored 8-1 in those 2 games. So the offense hasn't been providing over the last couple games. The defense hasn't been getting it done. So who knows what it's going to take. Hopefully a coaching change-up will shift things around for the Oilers there, but Dave Tippett out for Edmonton, Woodcroft to come in to replace. So let's keep talking about news in the National Hockey League, Brody. Let's talk about a suspension, a very, very, very talked about topic the last day or so. Brad Marchand just received another suspension, another one. I say another one because he is now officially the most suspended player in National Hockey League history. 6-game suspension with an incident with Pittsburgh Penguins goalie Tristan Jarry. If you haven't seen that clip either, long story short, Jarry was trying to flip a puck over to a fan over the glass there, and Marchant came across and hit that puck away. He was not having any of it. Later on, fast forward down the game, puck is frozen by the Penguins goalie, and Marchand seemingly out of nowhere comes over and gives him a nice right hook to the head. So it's not sure what kind of words, transpired out of that situation to cause Marchand to do that, but another 6-game suspension for Marchand. I have heard actually that Marchand is trying to appeal that suspension. He believes that he doesn't deserve anything out of that situation there. So, Brody, 6 games, too much, too little? What do you think?
I think it's a fair suspension. Brad Marchand obviously is a repeat offender and has a history of suspensions. And when you go after a goalie like the way Marchand does, and he goes after Jari, pokes at him when he covers the puck, and then when he's being taken away by the officials, he jabs his stick into Tristan Jari's face, like his helmet. There's no reason to do that, and Marchand is a repeat offender. So for me, I don't see why it's a problem. I think it's a fair amount of games for him.
Yeah, I think the thing with Marchand too is that I don't know what his mindset is up there, what he's thinking in that situation. When you got the skill level of Brad Marchand, when you're able to play as well as he does, it's the same thing like over in Toronto when they had Nazem Kadri on their team. Like getting into those playoffs, I know there's obviously some the anger levels are high. And, intensity is there, but, Marchand's got to, collect himself in those situations. You're a good team, you're fighting for a playoff spot, obviously. You have to control yourself, and you have to, help your team out where you best excel at. And for Marchand, obviously, he doesn't excel at being, well, I guess he does excel at being suspended, seeming that he's now the most suspended player in history, but, his play on the ice, with his scoring and his playmaking ability and all that, it needs to be out there for the Bruins. And when he's getting suspended like that, all it does is just hurt his team. So it's an interesting situation there as well. I definitely believe the 6 games was worth it. I think that 6 is definitely deserving for what he did. It was, very, very uncalled for. A very bad situation there for Marchand. I don't see this appeal really going his way at all. So, we'll have to keep tabs on that. We'll update you guys in the next episode on how that appeal goes. Speaking of the Bruins, though, very, very, very good goalie, Tucarasque, has retired with the Boston Bruins. I know he tried to make a comeback, played a couple of games with the Bruins, ran into injury problems again, and officially has announced his retirement. Brody, what are your thoughts? How do you like Tucarasque? You think he's a good goalie or what?
Definitely. I think Tucarasque has had a fantastic career with the Boston Bruins. He's a Stanley Cup champion in 2011. He's a big part of that Boston Bruins organization, whether it's on the ice or off the ice. I think in the future we could see Tucarasque's number being raised to the rafters. That's a huge loss for the Boston Bruins team. He's a fantastic goaltender, and wish him all the best in retirement.
Do you think he deserves to be in the Hockey Hall of Fame?
I would say so. He won a Stanley Cup. I'm pretty sure he's won a Vezina Trophy as well. He's had a trip to the finals in 2013 as well. He's had a lot of very good, consistent seasons. I don't see why he wouldn't eventually be a Hall of Famer.
So now I'm going to propose a question to you, Brody. Which goalie do you think had a better career, Tucarasque or Chris Osgood?
That is a very tough question. Chris Osgood has had a great career at Detroit, and they've had a lot of Stanley Cups during his tenure there. But for me, I think based on him being a starter for the majority of his career, I would say Tucarasque has had a better career than Chris Osgood.
Okay, interesting. So, yeah, Tucarasque and Chris Osgood, obviously 2 goalies that haven't been inducted to the Hall of Fame. Brody's got Rask. I got Osgood. I think Osgood goes before Tucarasque does. Not to say that Tucarasque didn't have a great career, with the Bruins, but Tucarasque. Unfortunate that he couldn't come back to his form that he was in prior seasons. But nevertheless, congratulations to Tucarasque on his retirement. He had a great career, and very happy for him. So let's talk about some more NHL news. We talked about some firings earlier in the episode. Let's talk about some hirings. So. First things first, the St. Louis Blues extend their head coach Berube. How many years was it? Was it 3 years? 3 years. 3 years, yeah, 3 years. What do you think about that?
I think it's a very well-deserved extension. Craig Berube has had a very solid tenure with the St. Louis Blues so far, also bringing them a Stanley Cup championship in 2019, the first in their team history. So for me, Craig Berube definitely deserves an extension. His team plays with a very hard style of play. They're tough to play against. They move the puck really well. I think it's a great fit for Craig Berube and the St. Louis Blues, and best of luck to him going forward.
Yeah, the Blues are they're kind of, the regular season, you never know what you're going to get from the Blues. Like, they're a good team. They have their points where they are struggling. I know the last few games they've been struggling a little bit there. Notably David Perron has been struggling as well. He's only scored, I think, something like 2 goals in 26 games. So that's interesting. But yeah, Berube, he's been that backbone for the St. Louis Blues, especially during their Stanley Cup win in 2019. I think he's a very good coach, and they have a very good roster built for them in St. Louis. So I don't see why they shouldn't succeed. And going forward with Berube is only positives over there for St. Louis. A couple more hirings. So the Anaheim Ducks named Scott Niedermayer the special advisor to the general manager, which is very cool to see. Scott Niedermayer winning the Stanley Cup with the Anaheim Ducks. Very good career, Hall of Famer. So that's cool to see over there in Anaheim. Over in Philadelphia, they named Daniel Briere the special assistant to the general manager. So that's also cool to see too. Daniel Briere also had a very good and lengthy NHL career. So nice to see some of those guys that, me and you grew up with watching playing, and it's nice to see some of them, getting roles with NHL teams to this day. So that's really cool to see. A couple hirings there from former NHL players. So let's talk about San Jose, Brody. So in headlines recently, it sounds like San Jose is trying to reach an agreement with their pending UFA Thomas Hertl. So a lot of rumors have been getting thrown around about Thomas Hertl being dealt at the trade deadline. He's definitely one of those top available players. But it sounds like San Jose wants to keep him. What's the idea there, Brody? Why do you think San Jose wants to keep him over getting back some different tools on their team?
I think San Jose wants to keep him just because he's a very good goal scorer, and with his age, I think he's still fairly young. He can still bring a lot to that organization. Although I could see from Thomas Hertl's perspective maybe wanting to move to another team at the deadline. San Jose hasn't made the playoffs in the last few years. Looks like they're on the trend downward. They're an aging organization, so it'll definitely be interesting to see what happens with Hertl. But yeah, Thomas Hertl's a great forward, and he would definitely be a huge asset to the San Jose Sharks, and I can see why they would want to keep him.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. It's a little interesting because, like you said, San Jose does seem to be on the downwards trend. They don't really have the tools or the depth. Their goaltending's been fantastic this year, but other than that, they really have not been shining anywhere in any other aspect. So it's kind of interesting to see that San Jose is trying to work something out with Hertl. He's something like 30 years old, so he's still got quite a few years left. He is a predominant goal scorer, so he is a good player, but I'm kind of surprised by that a little bit, just because he's a great potential trade at the deadline. A lot of teams would pay a lot to get him, so definitely interesting there in San Jose. We'll have to follow that along, see how that goes coming closer to the deadline as well. Speaking of teams on a downwards trend, Brody, I know I have a lot of opinions on this next topic. Let's talk about it. The Arizona Coyotes are moving arenas. They finalize a deal with Arizona State University. They're going to be playing it in their facility there for the next 3 years. So they signed a contract for 3 years to play in Arizona State University. Brody, I want to hear your opinions before I rant a little on this one.
I'll definitely leave some opinions out there for Zach to rant on. But first off, yeah, it's definitely interesting to see that Arizona is going to be playing from the Arizona State University. Their capacity is only 5,000, and to me, when you're the NHL, when you're the league and you're trying to raise the salary cap going forward and bring in more revenue, it's going to be very difficult to do that when you can only bring in 5,000 fans. Like, the fans buying the tickets is a big part of what raises the cap. It's what brings the NHL revenue. And for me, it doesn't really make much sense to move Arizona to a university where you can only have so many fans.
I'm a little annoyed. I'm going to be honest. I'm a little annoyed. I'm a little upset about this. the biggest reason I'm upset about this, it's affected me personally too. I live just north of Calgary, a big Flames fan, so I want to go to some Flames games, and recently, some games in Canada have been canceled and postponed due to lack of attendance, which is very, very frustrating because I know here in Alberta right now, entertainment venues are restricted to 50% capacity. So if we take a look at a team like Calgary at the Scotiabank Saddledome there, their 50% capacity is still about 9,000 people. So you're telling me that restricting the capacity is going to affect your revenue when you're getting 9,000 people in, but you're going to allow an NHL team to play an arena where at most they can have is 5,000 people, and you're going to allow that, and you're going to let that happen for the next 3 years. It's very hypocritical. I'm not very happy about it. I think it's bad for the team. It's bad for the league. Great for Arizona State University fans. It's going to be awesome for the, people enrolled in that university. They're going to have a full-on NHL team on their campus, which is cool. Don't get me wrong, but it's not the facility to do it at. And it's frustrating to see from a hockey fan that lives in Canada to see how much, favored the American teams are compared to Canadian teams, and it's frustrating. It's something we have to live with as long as Gary Bettman's commissioner, but little frustrating there over there in Arizona. I'm not happy. I'm really not happy. Well, what can you do? It is what it is. So this week has been a little lackluster on the news in the NHL. We've pretty much covered all the news that's been out there. So we are still within over a month away from the trade deadline, but as hockey fans, you can't help but to fascinate about, trades and stuff like that. So let's talk a little bit more of some potential trades and stuff like that. So there has been some rumors that a bunch of Philadelphia Flyers scouts have been attending Colorado Avalanche games and their minor league team, which I believe is the San Diego Gulls, something like that. I think it's something along those lines. Anyways, they've been attending their games, which can lead to believe that maybe they're looking for some packages back for a specific player in maybe Claude Giroux, maybe. So Brody, Claude Giroux to the Avalanche. What would you think about that one?
That would be absolutely terrifying. If you have Nathan McKinnon, Nazem Kadri, and Claude Giroux down the middle when you're already a cup contending team, that just makes you absolutely frightening to any team in the league. And Colorado has the pieces that they could give back to the Flyers. They're a very deep team. It's definitely a possibility. In my opinion, I think the Flyers would have to retain half of Claude Giroux's salary in order to make it work. But just having Claude Giroux on that roster just makes them completely terrifying.
Yeah, another aspect about that trade too, obviously Claude Giroux has a full no movement clause. I think if Colorado was presented to him, I don't think he'd say no. Colorado definitely cup favorites this year, but having that center core, that 1-2-3 punch of McKinnon, Kadri, and Giroux is terrifying. You could even play Giroux on the wing with that top line or with Kadri as well. So that would be a little terrifying. Let's talk about another Western Conference team. I know it's biased, man. I'm a Flames fan. What can I do? I love talking about the Flames. The Flames are in desperate need of secondary scoring. Their top line this year of Tkachuk, Gaudreau, and Lindholm has been on fire. All of them are above point per game. They're all around plus 30. It's the bottom 9 that has been struggling for the Flames, especially, I'm calling him out, Brett Ritchie, 24 games played, 0 goals, 0 assists. Tyler Pitlick, 25 games played, only 2 assists. The depth scoring has not really been there. The only depth scorer the Flames really have had this year is Milan Lucic, which is kind of interesting. But the Flames need some depth scoring. Do you have any thoughts on who they could pick up at this deadline? Who the Flames could go after for a depth scorer for them?
I do have one team that I think the Flames could look to add some secondary scoring to their roster, and it would be the Montreal Canadiens. Tyler Toffoli is a good winger. He would definitely add to their top 6. Montreal is clearly not going to make the playoffs, and I think Tyler Toffoli would want to be on a playoff roster if the opportunity is presented to him. I think that he would fit in well in their top 6 and definitely be an option for the Flames.
Yeah, Tyler Toffoli has definitely been talked about in the Flames community about potential trade pieces. You got to remember, Tyler Toffoli was a Stanley Cup winner under Daryl Sutter with the Los Angeles Kings, so right there you already have that good connection with Sutter and Toffoli. The Flames have really been after a right-handed shot-scoring winger for quite a few years now. I know the first time it was really brought up was when Mark Stone was available in Ottawa, and Vegas ended up getting him at the deadline. So Tyler Toffoli to the Flames, what would a package look like? I'm saying let's go on a whim here. I'm gonna propose a trade to you, Brody. You tell me who says no. We got going to Calgary. We got Christian Dvorak, Tyler Toffoli. Going to Montreal, Sean Monahan, Dylan Dubé, Juuso Valimaki, and a first. Who says no? He's got to think about that one.
Knowing Brad Treliving, his history, he doesn't make a lot of bold moves. In my opinion, I feel like he would be the one to say no, because I don't know if he would want to give up Dylan Dubé, a first-round pick, and one of their defensive prospects in Valimaki to make that trade work. He hasn't been proven in the past to pull the trigger, so for me, I feel like Brad Treliving would be the one to say no.
Yeah, Brad Treliving definitely has a history of being a little hesitant when it comes to trades. The last big trade he really made was with the Carolina Hurricanes, where he acquired Elias Lindholm and Noah Hanifin for Dougie Hamilton, Adam Fox, but we're not going to talk about that, and Michael Furlan. So that was a very, very, very good trade for the Flames, obviously with Lindholm playing on that top line, being the player that he is with the Flames and how he's grown on that team. Noah Hanifin also being a top 4 defenseman for the Flames. Great trade by Treliving there, but Treliving does have a history of not wanting to do any big trades. I know the last one before that Hanifin and Lindholm trade was Travis Hamonic for a first and 2 seconds. That was I can see Brody's face right now. He's looking a little sour. Yeah, that was a a trade that backfired. And I think that's another one of those reasons why Treliving is definitely hesitant to pull the trigger on some of those big trades. But let me argue my case a little bit. You look at a guy like Sean Monahan, who has 19 points in 44 games this season. So he's definitely taken a hit in his scoring. Obviously, he hasn't been playing with Johnny Gaudreau anymore, because before, the last couple of years, those two were the 1-2 guy up there in Calgary. But the thing about Monahan that I haven't, as a Flames fan, really liked this year, you can tell he's still battling his injuries that he had. Apparently had terrible either back or hip problems last year and stuff like that. He's a very good face-off man, He's winning something like 52% face-offs right now. The only problem I really have with Sean Monahan right now is that he doesn't score on 5-on-5. He is one of their, he sits in the high slot on the power play. He gets those goals there. But when it comes to his 5-on-5 play, it's been rough this year. And granted, he hasn't been playing around the best players. Lucic has been pretty good for Calgary. He's been playing here and there with Lucic, but guys like Trevor Lewis, who only has 9 points in 44 games. Dubé's been having an off season. Brett Ritchie, all those, Brad Richardson. So he's a minus 13 right now this season, which is kind of rough, especially on a team that has a plus 40 goal differential. So Monahan definitely needs to get some of that confidence back. I feel that if he were to go over to Montreal, there's very, very low expectations. Something good could happen Monahan's way. Same thing with Dubé as well. Dubé's been having quite an off season as well. Dubé only 4 goals, 7 assists in 44 games as well. Granted, he's also not getting as much chances as he has in prior seasons. Juuso Valimaki's an interesting point there. Valimaki has been one of those defensemen that could definitely play, the bottom pair for the Flames. But how the Flames have been playing, this year, they haven't needed to change things up on the blue line. That third pair of Goodbranson and Zadorov, I'm going to be honest, going into this season, I was terrified for that defense pair. I was absolutely terrified of it. But they've really come into their own. Zadorov has definitely stepped up his offensive game. Goodbranson's been a very good stay-at-home defenseman. So it's obvious that there's really no space for Valimaki on this roster. So I could see, Treliving doing something with that. The first, is just because, Toffoli and Dvorak are very good NHL players. So I agree with you, Brody, that I think Treliving says no on that one, but there's possibility. There's possibility. I would love to see Tyler Toffoli come over. play him on that second line. You could have him play with Coleman, Backlund. You could have him playing with a bunch of people. Keep that top line together. Add some more depth scoring. I think the Flames too. The Flames need to take a chance on some of their young guys in the AHL. The Stockton Heat right now are playing very, very good. Backed up by Dustin Wolf, who's having one of the best seasons as a goalie in AHL history. Some guys like Matthew Phillips, Peltier, even Connor Zary, stuff like that. I think they need to take a chance and bring some of those guys up and take out players like Brett Ritchie and, Trevor Lewis and stuff. Another thing I wanted to add as well with Sean Monahan, there's got to be some leadership involved there. With the play that Monahan has been playing this year, his point total has been rough, especially 5-on-5. His plus-minus has been brutal. He is an alternate captain though, Brody. Like, he's an alternate captain of the Flames. So you got to imagine that there's something there in that locker room that's keeping them from moving on from Monahan. But hey, if Toffoli's available and he fits, the persona that you are looking at perfectly, like, you got to do something to get him, So a little bit of more trade rumors, coming up to this deadline. I'm super excited for this deadline. How about you, Brody? I'm stoked.
I'm pretty stoked too.
Yeah, there's a lot of good players being talked about. A lot of teams. It's gonna be an expensive one. I think there's gonna be a lot of trades going through. So I don't think it's gonna be quite the caliber of the NBA, the NBA trade deadline. Man, I know this is a hockey podcast, but I just wanted to talk about this. The NBA trade deadline is crazy, man. We just saw James Harden, like top 10 basketball player in the league, just get traded at the deadline. How often does that happen in hockey? That's like you telling me, you walking up to the street and be like, oh yeah, by the way, Leon Draisaitl just got traded. Like, what? Like, that don't happen in the NHL. Like, that's crazy. I just wanted to throw that in there. NBA trade deadline was crazy. I'm hoping the NHL follows suit and does the same thing. So, is there anything else you want to add to this episode of the podcast, Brody? Episode number 3?
I'm going to go on to Monahan's leadership perspective from the Calgary Flames. I mean, we've been having fun on this podcast, so I'm just going to say it right now. Monahan's there for the boys.
He's there for the boys.
He's there for the boys. He wants to keep them going, have them have a good time. He's just there to hype them up, and he's having a rough season, but hopefully he'll turn it around.
Hey, if the wheels are turning on that Flames team, why stop them? If Monahan is there, not playing the best, but the team is getting it done, let the team get it done. So that is going to end our 3rd episode of the Cherry Pickers podcast. We've had a blast recording this one in person. Hopefully we can do more like that. We appreciate all of you for tuning in and listening to our show. Our show is available on Spotify Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and YouTube as well. Stay tuned. We upload one episode every single Sunday at 12 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. We appreciate you all listening and hope you have a great rest of your day or night. Take care.